I never believed in haunted objects or cursed mirrors or any of that paranormal crap. Ghost stories were just that, stories. Things you tell around a campfire to scare kids, or weird urban legends you read online at 3 a.m. and forget about by morning. That was me. Rational, logical, grounded. Or at least I was until the night my reflection smiled back at me. And I don't mean the usual "I smiled so it smiled" kind of thing. I mean it smiled when I didn't. And once I noticed it, once I locked eyes with that thing pretending to be me, everything started unraveling. It began about 3 months after I moved into my first apartment. It wasn't anything fancy, just a narrow one-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an old red brick building downtown. The walls were thin enough to hear my neighbor sneeze, the pipes clanked every time I turned on the water, and the place always smelled faintly of someone else's cigarettes. But it was cheap and close to campus, and after years of living under my parents' roof, the sense of independence was intoxicating. The apartment came partially furnished with second-hand furniture from the previous tenant. Most of it was forgettable: an old creaky sofa, a dented metal table, but one piece stood out: a floor-length mirror leaning against the hallway wall. It was tall, framed in dark carved wood that curled into strange shapes I couldn't quite make out, and the glass was old, slightly warped, with faint imperfections that rippled the reflection. It wasn't beautiful, but it made the narrow hallway feel larger. I didn't think much of it at first. I should have. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday night. I had been up late studying for a psychology midterm, cramming case studies into my overtired brain with the help of way too much instant coffee. Around 2:30 in the morning, I gave up, closed my laptop, and stumbled toward bed. As I passed the mirror, I didn't even glance at it. I'd walked by it dozens of times without a second thought, but halfway down the hall, something made me stop. It wasn't a sound or a draft, just a prickling at the back of my neck. On impulse, I turned and looked into the mirror. At first, nothing was unusual. My reflection stared back, exhausted and bleary-eyed, hair sticking up in all directions. But then I noticed it. My reflection's mouth was curled into a faint smile. I wasn't smiling. My lips were pressed together, my face blank. But the version of me in the glass was grinning, just slightly, like it knew something I didn't. I blinked. The smile was gone. My heart thumped, but I laughed under my breath. I was overtired, my brain playing tricks on me. Hallucinations happen when you're sleep-deprived. That's what I told myself. I shook it off, went to bed, and forgot about it. But that image, my smiling reflection, lingered in the back of my mind. The next night, I avoided looking at the mirror before bed. In fact, I grabbed an old bedsheet from my closet and tossed it over the frame. I told myself it was silly, but it made me feel better. That lasted until about 3 in the morning, when I woke up to the sound of fabric shifting. It was subtle, barely audible, but unmistakable, the soft, steady slide of cloth against wood. I froze. My room was dark, the hallway beyond even darker. I strained my ears. The sound stopped. After a few seconds of silence, I convinced myself it had been nothing. Maybe the air conditioner kicked on. Maybe I'd dreamed it. I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep. But when morning came, the sheet was crumpled on the floor. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember if I'd secured it properly. I was pretty sure I had. I told myself I'd just been careless. That night, I dragged the mirror into the corner and turned it to face the wall. Problem solved. But a few nights later, something new started. I woke up around 3:17 a.m. I remember the time because I checked my phone because of a faint tapping noise. It was soft, rhythmic, like fingernails on glass. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened. It was coming from the hallway. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was the pipes again, or the neighbors, or anything else. But the sound continued, slow and deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Against my better judgment, I grabbed my phone and crept out of bed, using the flashlight to guide my way. The hallway was empty. The mirror still faced the wall, but the tapping had stopped. Slowly, I turned the mirror to check. My blood ran cold. There was a handprint on the inside of the glass. Not a smudge or fingerprint, an imprint like someone had pressed their hand flat against the other side. And the fingers were too long, too thin. I didn't sleep after that. I told myself it had to be a trick of the glass. Maybe the imperfections created patterns that looked like a hand, but deep down I didn't believe that. Things got worse. Over the next few days, I started noticing tiny inconsistencies in the mirror. My reflection would tilt its head when I didn't. or blink a fraction of a second too late. Once, as I brushed my teeth, I swore I saw it wave. A slow, deliberate wave. My toothbrush slipped from my hand and clattered into the sink. I stared, my reflection stared back. And then it smiled again, wide, unnatural, like a predator. I screamed. I ran from the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. I grabbed a hammer from the toolbox I kept under the sink and marched back in, ready to smash the damn thing. But when I opened the door, the mirror was empty. I was looking at my bathroom, perfectly reflected, but I wasn't there. My breath caught. And then, from the edge of the glass, my reflection walked into view. It was me, same hair, same clothes, but wrong. The grin was too wide, the eyes too dark, too knowing. It raised a finger to its lips and shushed me. I bolted. I didn't stop until I was outside, barefoot on the cold pavement, heart slamming against my ribs. I spent the night at a friend's place making up an excuse about a gas leak. I should have gotten rid of the mirror. I should have smashed it to pieces. But when I returned the next morning, everything was normal. My reflection mirrored me perfectly again. No smiles, no waves. I started to think I was losing my mind. Maybe it was stress. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe I needed help. But then other things started happening. I'd leave my keys on the counter and find them in the freezer. My toothbrush switched sides on the sink. I'd wake up to find every cupboard in the kitchen wide open. And sometimes when I walked past the mirror too quickly, I saw two reflections. One that was me, and one standing behind me, too tall and too still. I avoided mirrors after that, not just in my apartment but everywhere. Store windows, bathroom mirrors, even my phone screen. I couldn't look. Every time I did, I expected to see it smiling back. And then one night I did. I was getting ready for bed when I noticed the blanket I'd draped over the mirror was on the floor again. My stomach dropped. Slowly I turned around. My reflection was standing outside the mirror, halfway down the hallway. It wasn't a reflection anymore. It was me, but wrong. The smile was twisted, stretched unnaturally wide. Its eyes were black, bottomless pits. It tilted its head and spoke in my voice, but warped like a recording played backward. "You've been watching me." My body locked up. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. It took a step forward, then another, then another. I stumbled backward into my bedroom, slamming the door and pushing the dresser against it. Silence. No footsteps. No knocking. When I finally worked up the courage to check, the hallway was empty. The mirror lay shattered on the floor. I thought that was the end. I thought I'd trapped it or scared it away. I was wrong. It's been 6 months since that night. I moved back in with my parents. I dropped out of school. I barely leave my room. But sometimes when I pass a mirror, my reflection moves differently. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it waves. And sometimes it's gone completely. I've tried covering every mirror. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't need them. I see it everywhere now. Reflected in windows, in puddles, in the dark screen of my phone. Always smiling. Always watching. Last week I woke up to muddy footprints leading from the hallway to the side of my bed. They stopped inches from my face. Last night I heard someone whisper my name in the dark. And tonight I'm writing this because I know it's here. I can feel its breath on my neck as I type. I don't dare turn around. But if I do, if I see my reflection standing behind me, I know it won't be smiling anymore. It'll be waiting. And it will have been waiting a long, long time. I used to love the sound of rain against my bedroom window. It was comforting, soft, rhythmic, familiar. But now every time it rains, I feel sick. My hands start shaking. My chest tightens and I find myself staring at my front door, waiting for the inevitable knock. Because I know it's coming.
It always comes.
Every night. At 3:03 a.m. The first night it happened, I didn't think anything of it. I'd only been living in the house for a couple of weeks, still getting used to the sounds it made. It was an old place built in the 1950s with creaky floors and rattling pipes, the kind of house that sighed and groaned when the wind blew. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I'd scraped together every cent I had to buy it. It was the first real step toward the future I'd always wanted. Quiet, independence, stability. That night I was awake reading in bed when I heard it. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the front door. Knock, knock, knock. I glanced at the clock. 3:03 a.m. Exactly. My first thought was that it was a mistake. Maybe a neighbor had the wrong house. Or maybe someone needed help. I hesitated for a moment before getting up and heading down the hallway. My heart was pounding harder than I expected for something so ordinary. I checked the peephole. Nothing. The porch light illuminated the front step, but it was empty. I opened the door anyway, stepping out into the cool night air. The street was silent, the rain falling gently. Nobody was there. I shook my head, muttering to myself, and closed the door. It was probably just a prank. A stupid late-night prank. But the next night it happened again. Same time, same pattern. 3 slow knocks. I was already half asleep when I heard it. My eyes shot open, my heart thundering. I sat up listening. Knock, 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 3:03 a.m. I moved slowly, quietly, as if whoever was out there might hear me. I peered through the peephole. Again, nothing. The porch was empty. The rain was heavier this time, and the streetlights flickered in the distance. I opened the door anyway, a cold knot of unease forming in my chest. Nothing, just the rain. I closed the door, locked it, and went back to bed. But I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling until dawn. By the third night, I was expecting it. I sat in the dark living room, fully awake, watching the clock tick closer to 3:03. My heart raced as the seconds crawled by. When the time came, I held my breath, and there it was. Knock, knock, knock. My breath caught in my throat. Whoever it was, they weren't stopping. This wasn't a random prank. It wasn't a coincidence. They knew. They knew I was awake, waiting. I crept toward the door and pressed my eye against the peephole. Nothing. Empty porch. Empty street. My hand hovered over the deadbolt, but I didn't open the door this time. I just stood there listening. After about a minute, the knocking stopped. I exhaled shakily and backed away. I told myself it had to be someone messing with me. Maybe some neighborhood kids who'd figured out my routine. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. Because on the 4th night, I was ready. I set up my phone on a tripod by the window, angled to record the front porch. I wanted proof. If I could catch whoever it was, I'd have something to take to the police. I stayed up again, watching the clock. 3:03 came. Knock, knock, knock. My phone was rolling. I sprinted to it, adrenaline surging, and hit stop. Hands shaking, I opened the video. The porch appeared on screen, empty and still. The rain fell steadily. The timestamp read 3:03 a.m. The knocks were audible, clear, and deliberate. But no one was there. I rewound it, watched it again. Same thing. The sound of knocking, but no visible source. I played it a 3rd time. This time I noticed something I hadn't before. Just as the last knock sounded, the porch light flickered, and for a single frame, less than a second, there was a shadow. A tall, thin shape standing at the door. No face, no features, just darkness. Then it was gone. I couldn't breathe. I slammed my laptop shut and sat on the floor, trying to make sense of it. It had to be a glitch, a trick of the light, something, but deep down I knew something was wrong. After that, things started changing. At first it was small stuff. Doors left open when I was sure I'd closed them. Footsteps in the hallway when I was alone. Then I started hearing whispers. They were faint, almost too quiet to notice, but they were there. Right after the knocks, always around 3:03, soft, breathy voices just beyond the door. I couldn't make out the words, but they were getting louder, closer. One night I pressed my ear against the wood, straining to hear. The whispers stopped. And then in the silence, a voice, clear as day, spoke from the other side. Let me in. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of my room with every light on, staring at the door. The knocking didn't come that night, nor the next. I started to relax. Maybe it was over. Maybe whatever it was had moved on. But I was wrong. It came back a week later, only this time it wasn't just knocking. It was scratching, soft at first, then more frantic, like nails dragging across the wood. I called the police that night. They showed up 20 minutes later, checked the property, and found nothing. Probably just a prank, the officer said. Kids, maybe, but his face said otherwise. I saw the way he looked at the door, the faint marks etched into the wood. He didn't believe it was kids either. The next night, I boarded up the door. I nailed heavy wooden planks across it and pushed the couch in front of it. And still at 3:03, knock, knock, knock. I screamed at it to stop. I begged, I cried. Nothing changed. I bought security cameras, 3 of them. One for the porch, One for the living room, one facing the door from inside. I stayed awake that night staring at the live feeds. 303 knock, knock, knock. I stared at the camera. Empty porch. Empty street. Then the interior feed glitched. Just for a second. And in that second, something stood on the inside of the door. Inside. A tall, thin silhouette. I blinked and it was gone. The knocking stopped. The next morning, I checked the footage. Nothing. All 3 feeds were blank from 302 to 304, like someone had erased it. I stopped sleeping after that. Every night I sat in the living room, knife in hand, waiting. And every night at 303 it came, sometimes knocking, sometimes scratching, sometimes whispering. One night I heard my name. My name, Eli. The way it said it made my skin crawl. Slow, drawn out, hungry. I screamed until my throat was raw. I stopped opening the door. I stopped checking the peephole. I tried to ignore it. But it wasn't just at the door anymore. I started hearing the knocks on the windows, on the walls, on the ceiling. Once I heard them right beside my bed. Knock, knock, knock. I snapped awake, gasping. The clock read 3:03. My bedroom door was open. I never sleep with it open. I moved out a week later. I packed everything I could fit into my car and left. I didn't care about breaking the lease. I didn't care about the money. I just needed to be gone. I found a new apartment across town. New locks, new neighborhood, new everything. The first night there, I slept like a rock. The second night, too. By the third night, I'd almost convinced myself it was over. Then, on the fourth night, I woke up suddenly. The room was dark. The rain was falling outside. And from somewhere deep in the building, I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. My phone lit up on the nightstand. 3:03 a.m. I haven't slept since. It's been weeks now. I've changed apartments twice. I've moved cities. It doesn't matter. It always finds me. Always knows where I am. Every night at 3:03, 3 slow knocks. No matter where I go. I don't bother calling the police anymore. I don't bother setting up cameras. I don't open the door. I just sit there heart racing, waiting for it to end. But I know it won't. I know it's only a matter of time before the knocking stops and the door opens. I can't explain it. I don't know if it's a ghost, a demon, or something worse. All I know is this, it wants in. And I think one night soon I'm going to let it. I've always been a light sleeper. Every little noise wakes me, a creak, a drip, a gust of wind against the window. So when I first heard the sound in the middle of the night, I thought nothing of it. It was just the old house settling, I told myself. That's what everyone says about strange noises in the dark, isn't it? Just the pipes. Just the wind. Just your imagination. But I know better now, because I know what's really standing on the other side of the door. I moved into this place about 8 months ago. It's a small 2-story rental on the edge of town. Cheap, a little run down, but perfect for me. I'd been saving for years to get out of my parents' house, and when I finally signed the lease, I felt like I was starting my life. The landlord was upfront about the place being old, built in the early 1900s with narrow hallways, heavy wooden doors, and strange architectural choices. He called it character. I called it drafty. But I didn't mind. It felt cozy in a way, familiar. At first, everything was fine. I settled into a routine, work, eat, sleep, repeat. The only weird thing was the keyholes. Every interior door in the house had these huge, old-fashioned keyholes, the kind that looked big enough to peer through. Most were painted over or blocked with a bit of metal, but one wasn't. The door to my bedroom. I didn't think much of it at first. Who cared about an old keyhole? It was just part of the charm. Then about 3 weeks after I moved in, I started hearing the breathing. The first time it happened, I woke up around 2:40 a.m. It was subtle, faint, almost rhythmic, just on the edge of perception. At first, I thought it was coming from me. But when I held my breath, the sound didn't stop. It continued, slow, wet, human. It was coming from the door. I sat up, heart hammering, straining to hear. It wasn't the house. It wasn't the wind. It was someone, or something, standing right outside my room, breathing. I grabbed my phone and checked the hallway through the tiny gap under the door. Nothing. Silence. I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep paralysis, maybe. I'd read about people hearing footsteps or voices in that half-awake state. That had to be it. But the next night it happened again. 2:43 a.m. This time it was louder, closer, like whoever it was had their mouth pressed right against the keyhole. I crept closer, bare feet silent on the floorboards, and knelt down. The breathing stopped. I waited, heart racing, barely daring to blink. Then, from the other side of the door, something whispered, "I see you." I fell backward, scrambling to my feet. My chest was tight, my breathing ragged. I grabbed the nearest heavy object, a lamp, and yanked the door open. The hallway was empty, completely impossibly empty. I checked every room, every closet, nothing. No signs of a break-in, no footprints on the dusty floor, nothing. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, I bought a roll of duct tape and covered the keyhole. I felt ridiculous doing it, like a kid scared of monsters under the bed, but I didn't care. I just needed to feel safe. That night, I went to bed early, exhausted but determined to sleep. I woke up to the sound of tape peeling away, slowly, deliberately. My blood ran cold. I stared at the door. The tape was curling up at the edges, bit by bit, as if someone was pulling it from the other side. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The tape fell to the floor. Silence. Then the breathing started again, louder now, closer. And then came the whisper. "Why are you hiding?" I screamed. I didn't think, I just ran. I bolted from the room, down the stairs, and out the front door, barefoot and shaking. I spent the night in my car, locked inside, watching the house until morning. When I finally worked up the nerve to go back in, everything was normal. The tape was gone. The door was closed. Nothing seemed out of place. I told myself it had to be someone messing with me. Maybe a neighbor with a spare key. Maybe the landlord. Maybe I was losing my mind. But none of those explanations made sense. I changed the locks the next day. Still, the breathing came. Every night. Always between 2:30 and 3 a.m. Always right outside the door. Sometimes there were whispers. Sometimes scratching. Sometimes just silence. The heavy, suffocating kind that makes you feel like you're not alone. One night I made the mistake of looking through the keyhole. I don't know why. Curiosity. Stupidity. A desperate need to prove to myself that there was nothing there. I crouched on the floor, heart in my throat, and pressed my eye to the opening. Darkness. At first, that's all I saw. Just black. Then slowly, two pale shapes swam into view. Eyes. Two enormous, glassy eyes staring back at me from inches away. I gasped and stumbled backwards, slamming into the dresser. When I looked again, the eyes were gone. I didn't sleep for days after that. I started barricading the door with furniture. I bought a heavy steel lock for the bedroom and installed it myself. I even slept with a knife under my pillow. None of it helped. The breathing never stopped. The whispering grew bolder. Sometimes it called my name. Sometimes it laughed, a low, rasping chuckle that made my skin crawl. I started noticing other things too, small things, but enough to convince me that whatever was on the other side wasn't just a figment of my imagination. Once I woke up to find the door slightly open, just a crack, but enough. Another time I found footprints on the hallway floor, bare, wet prints leading up to my bedroom door, but none leading away. And then about a month ago, I woke up to find something new. The keyhole was bigger. Not a lot, just a fraction of an inch, but it was enough to notice. The next night, it was bigger again, and again. Night after night, it widened, slowly, deliberately, as if something was picking at the wood from the other side. I covered it with duct tape again. I nailed a metal plate over it. But no matter what I did, the hole kept widening. Now it's big enough to see the hallway clearly, and I swear I see movement on the other side. Flickers of shadow, a shape leaning close, a smile. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom 2 weeks ago. I moved into the living room, set up a cot, locked the bedroom door, and tried to pretend none of this was happening. It followed me. The breathing, the whispers, the scratching. Now they're at the living room door. 2 nights ago, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, deliberate footsteps. They stopped right outside the door. And then from the other side, a whisper. It's almost time. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know. Last night, I woke up around 2:37. I didn't know why at first when the house was silent. Then I saw it, a thin black line running down the center of the living room door. A crack. As I watched it split wider, the wood was bending, creaking, peeling, like something was pushing from the other side. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but before I could hit call, the crack stopped. Silence. I sat there for hours, knife in hand, staring at that line. It hasn't moved since, but I know it's still there, waiting, watching. Tonight I'm writing this because I don't think I'll make it through the night. It's 2:29 a.m. as I type this. The breathing has started again, louder than ever. The door is rattling in its frame. Something is pressing against it. I can see the wood splintering. I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what it wants. But I know this, it's coming through. And when it does, I don't think anyone will ever find me. If someone reads this, if anyone ever finds this message, do me one favor. Never look through the keyhole. And if you hear breathing in the dark, don't listen.